The Sheffield Documentary Festival opens on Wednesday with a screening of the film Pussy Riot, a punk prayer. It tells the story of the punk band who staged an anti-Putin performance in Moscow's biggest cathedral and were put on trial for hooliganism motivated by religious hatred. Two of their members are still behind bars, but our Moscow correspondent Steve Rosenberg talked to one of those who's been released, Katya Samutsevich, and he asked her whether their target was President Putin or the church.
На самом деле здесь в одинаковой степени была критика.
It was equally the critique of the Orthodox Church, namely the Moscow Patriarchy and Putin. At the moment, they're absolutely identical in terms of violation of civil liberties. We don't like what is happening now, the merging of the Russian Orthodox Church with the state power and the new politics of moralizing, which is now happening on a large scale in our country.
Were you concerned about offending Orthodox believers? Did you worry that you were going to offend their beliefs?
Мы обсуждали этот вопрос. На самом деле,
We discussed this question. Our performance was not done in a vacuum. We hope that the context in which the performance was done would explain why we did it. Most people understood and they didn't feel any offense. You can only be offended if you don't understand that it was a protest, not an offense or an attack against the believers.
Do you have a faith? Are you religious? And if so, how does your faith influence your political position?
На самом деле, здесь мы отвечаем так, что группа анонимна.
The band is anonymous. We do not reveal the identity of the people. We do not speak if the participants are believers or non-believers. It is not that important in this case. The question of religion is one matter, and the question of the situation in the country and the politics of the Russian Orthodox Church and the state is a different matter.
How do you regard the way in which the Orthodox Church reacted to your protest, to the court cases and to the sentencing?
Я думаю, неадекватно отреагировала, я думаю, это очевидно всем.
I think the reaction was not appropriate. I think it is obvious to everyone. Right after the performance happened, and as the rumors appeared that the criminal case would be opened, Moscow Patriarchate leaders, including Patriarch Kirill, Vsevolod Chaplin, Archpriest Smirnov, started to make remarks about our performance. They immediately called it a crime, a terrible violation of the law, an attack on Orthodox believers. They started to say that we attacked the basis of the state, spirituality, security of society. All kind of accusations were made against us, and it all had an impact on the criminal case which was opened and the trial that followed.
And what is the current situation for your colleagues who are currently serving their sentences behind bars?
Но у них достаточно сложная ситуация. Во-первых, они уже больше года находятся в колонии.
They're in a difficult situation. They have been behind bars more than a year, including more than 6 months in colonies. It is hard. Russian colonies are notorious for having negative effect on a person, on his psyche, moral and mental state. Unfortunately, we see now the hardening of regime for Nadia and Masha. Nadia's correspondence is blocked. Not everyone is allowed to call her and talk to her. Only direct relatives are allowed to call her, but not all the time. After the hunger strike, the attitude to Masha is not good either, because hunger strike is the maximum possible form of protest against the colony.
Do you regret carrying out your protest in the Christ the Saviour Cathedral?
Мне часто задают этот вопрос. Нет, конечно, не жалею. Я думаю, что никто из нас не жалеет.
I'm often asked this question. No, of course I don't regret it. I think none of us regrets it. At the moment, there is a lot of discussion in the art community on what it means to be an artist. If the artist is involved in protest and in political art, he should probably get acquainted with the laws, meet good lawyers, and be always on alert, because a criminal case can be opened at any time and you will need to defend yourself.
Katya Samutsevich talking to our Moscow correspondent Steve Rosenberg.